So the MacBook Pro 13 with its M1 chip is amazing. It's $1,300 and it packs a lot of performance. But I wanted to make this video to showcase it against a Ryzen budget laptop. Why Ryzen and not Intel? Well, because you just get a lot more value and performance at that price point with AMD laptops. And we know the MacBook Pro 13 is going to be faster and have better build quality than the AMD version, but a lot of people just don't need to spend that money, especially if you're considering it for a very specific use case. These budget Ryzen laptops are actually really good. Now, before we get into the review, a lot of you, maybe 100,000 million of you, are not subscribing, and it breaks my heart. We're supposed to be friends. Think of subscribing as peeing on yourself. We see that you're subscribed, maybe not if you have your privacy settings on, but only you get to feel that warm feeling. So hit the subscribe button and the bell. Now, build quality is better on the Pro 13. It's CNC aluminum, it's solid, the lid doesn't flex. It's just a very well built laptop. The Swift 3 is not bad either. Considering this is a $650 laptop, it's using magnesium aluminum. It feels premium compared to the plastic laptops from the past. There's a bit of lid flex, but it's not too concerning. The keyboards are good on both, better on the Pro 13. It has a bit more of a tactile click to it, making it more comfortable to type on. But don't let this Swift 3 keyboard fool you. It actually does provide a very good typing experience. You don't have different levels of backlighting to choose from like you do on the MacBook, but you do have backlighting even though it's only one level. Touchpad, MacBook Pro 13, like this is the gold standard. There's just so much room to move around and it's just super accurate. Swift 3 has a good touchpad too, but it's not as good as the MacBook Pro. Sticker placement is non-existent on the Pro 13, whereas on the Swift 3, they're crooked, The AMD guy is drinking a lot again. Ports is one thing the Swift does have over the MacBook Pro 13. I mean, look at this. You have your barrel connector to charge it, USB Type-C, which is obviously not Thunderbolt 3, HDMI, and USB. And then on the other side, you get your Noble Lock, another USB port, and your headphone jack. The MacBook Pro 13, on the other hand, just has 2 Thunderbolt ports, not 4, but only 2. If you want 4, you have to buy the Intel version of this. One thing the Acer Swift 3 does have over the MacBook Pro is a bigger display, 14 inches, and you can push the display completely flat against the table, whereas the MacBook Pro 13 kind of tops out at this angle. Now, even though this is a 14-inch display, it's matte too, which means you get no reflections. It just feels smaller, The 16:9 aspect ratio squishes it down, making it feel more horizontal, which is better for media consumption, but the 13-inch display on the MacBook Pro is 16:10, making it visibly better for productivity. You do get webcams on both of these, but they're both just really terrible, and I feel like this is one area Apple should have done better with, considering we're all working from home. They both have fingerprint scanners. Apple's is embedded into the power button. Acer's is at the bottom right hand of the laptop. They both do the job, but I find Apple's to be a bit more accurate. Now, if you're a Photoshop user or any sort of content creator, you're gonna wanna stick with a higher end laptop. The one area budget laptops tend to cut out on is the display. This is fine if you're doing web browsing and working in Excel or even playing a super light game, but as soon as you start using Photoshop or any sort of design application, the color accuracy and gamut is very low on the Swift 3. Now, my M1 MacBook Pro has 8 GB of RAM, and the Swift 3 is also using 8, but it's paired with a Ryzen 7 4700U CPU. When it comes to compiling code, the MacBook Pro M1 does a better job even using Rosetta. It was just able to compile it faster than the 4700U. If you're a designer or content creator using Adobe Premiere Pro, frankly, I think you should get something a bit beefier, but the M1 did a faster job, again, doing it through Rosetta. And the same held true for things like Photoshop. If you plan on gaming on any of these machines, obviously you'll have access to more games using the Swift 3, but the integrated GPU inside of the MacBook Pro 13 is faster. Then you come down to fan noise, and obviously the MacBook Pro 13 is completely quiet unless you're pounding it for over 10 minutes, but the Swift 3 is quiet too. No matter how hard you're pushing this thing, it never gets over 40 decibels. Heat management is great on both of these laptops. It just doesn't exist on the MacBook Pro 13. Like, CPU always stays nice and cool. Keyboard never gets hot. Acer is being super conservative with the temperatures on the Swift 3, so you do get a little less performance compared to other laptops with the 4700U, but what you do get is a quiet experience. Internally, you just can't upgrade anything on the MacBook Pro 13. Everything is soldered onto the motherboard. The Swift 3, you can swap out the SSD for something bigger down the road, but it too has soldered RAM on the motherboard. Battery life is great on both of these laptops. Better on the M1 because the idle time is just bonkers. Like, if you're just doing general productivity, you can literally go for like 18 hours without any issues. Swift 3, you can do 11 hours, but it doesn't have that great idle time the MacBook Pro has. So here's the message I'm trying to get across. We obviously know the M1 is a great, powerful, beautiful laptop. But we watch these YouTube videos, and a lot of us, including myself, review the most high-end products. And we get excited about it because it has all the features we've ever wanted in a laptop. But this here is very important in the mid-range to low-end sector because this is the first time we're getting this much performance at this price. I honestly can't remember another year where you got 8 cores, a metal chassis, amazing battery life, low fan noise, all for $650. And a lot of us are struggling out of there, you know? We're struggling. Times are tough. We don't need to buy the most expensive things to get the job done. And if you're just looking for a good performer, and you can put away that you won't get the best speakers or the best display, and you just need something great for productivity, honestly, for $650, this is special. I hope this provided you some context for your next purchase. Whether you go high-end because you can afford it or mid-range to budget, maybe this will help you make a better decision. I hope you enjoyed the video, because if you did, feel free to subscribe, like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.